In the early years of America, the role of war in shaping the economy and society was undeniable. The DuPont family began to secure a strategic position during the Revolutionary War, 1775-1783. DuPont's ancestors emerged as a critical explosives manufacturer, known for gunpowder production. Recognizing the lack of ammunition, the DuPont family entered the gunpowder production business and started supplying both sides. This strategy became a cornerstone of their business model, profiting from the continuation of the war by doing business with both sides. During the American Civil War, 1861-1865, DuPont seized a great economic opportunity, especially with their expertise in explosive production at the most critical moments of the Civil War. DuPont not only produced gunpowder for the Union, but also secretly supplied materials to the Confederates. This showed that DuPont followed a versatile strategy, benefiting from the war by generating income from both sides. The income DuPont gained allowed the company to expand into the chemical sector, turning it into a long-term source of profit during World War II. I 1914 till Morten. DuPont not only produced explosives, but also took significant steps in chemical production, particularly with acidic and explosive chemicals. That became part of the war efforts. DuPont became one of the largest suppliers to meet the war's needs. During World War II, DuPont's empire played a significant role in the post-war Industrial Revolution. After the war, DuPont created a massive market for chemicals, plastics, and synthetic materials. DuPont developed even closer ties with the U.S. government. As its control over the supply chain increased, the company grew rapidly thanks to military contracts. DuPont was involved in the production of weapons, defense products, and gas masks. DuPont's wartime success was driven by military demand and high profit margins and guaranteed contracts from the government. This model became central to DuPont's way of doing business when the government declared a national security emergency. DuPont and similar companies continued to multiply their profits. In later years during the Iraq War 2003-2011, DuPont and similar defense companies saw huge profits. DuPont secured large public contract agreements during this period. DuPont diversified the profits earned during the war by investing in various areas of the chemical industry. DuPont's synthetic fabrics and industrial chemicals became pioneers in trade in the post-war era. The company also entered the pharmaceutical sector. Today, DuPont is one of the largest chemical companies in the World War. Profiteering has become the core of its business strategy, and the profits gained during periods of peace have reinforced the company's influence in public health, chemistry, and pharmaceuticals. The American Civil War, 1861-1865, first shaped Rockefeller's relationship with oil. During this period, although there were traditional energy sources such as coal and steam power, oil appeared as a more efficient and stronger fuel. Rockefeller entered the oil extraction and refining business. The founder of Standard Oil positioned oil as a strategic energy source, considering the growing energy demands of industry. During the Civil War, the need for oil in transportation such as motor vehicles and railroads allowed the oil industry to grow. Rockefeller recognized this demand and ensured oil spread worldwide to fuel the war efforts. One of Rockefeller's most controversial moves came during World War I, 1914-1918. He made agreements to supply oil to the war efforts of the U.S. and other Allied forces, but also traded fuel with Nazi Germany. In the 1940s, Standard Oil supplied oil to Nazi Germany, making secret agreements to fuel Germany's war machines. This led the U.S. government to investigate Rockefeller and his company. At the end of the war, though, the effects were limited. Rockefeller's ability to supply oil to both enemies and allies showed how he maneuvered in the darker sides of trade. During World War II, 1939 to 1945, Rockefeller's company continued global oil supply. Standard Oil made large contracts to meet the Allies' oil needs, but also continued supplying oil to Germany at the beginning of the war. These commercial relationships were a feature of Rockefeller's business strategy, the ability to work with both sides of the war. Rockefeller became one of the largest monopolies in the oil industry and a key supplier to meet the war's demands by building strong global connections. Standard Oil not only contributed to the war efforts, but also made huge profits from rising oil prices in the post-war period during the Cold War, 1947-1991, and the Afghanistan War. The Rockefeller family's influence grew oil played a critical role in shaping global energy policies, particularly in line with U.S. strategic interests. Standard Oil cooperated closely with the U.S. government in the Middle East during the Cold War for the control of global oil resources. The control of oil and energy resources became a key strategic goal in interventions in Afghanistan. Rockefeller's empire left a lasting impact on America's war and industrial policies and the global energy market standard. Oil's strong connections led to deep influence on international policies. The Rockefeller family's legacy laid the foundation for today's energy and military-industrial complex. The Spanish-American War marked the first major steps in J.P. Morgan's war financing history. After the outbreak of the war, the U.S. government quickly needed large amounts of money to strengthen the army and prepare the war machine. Morgan and his bank played an important role by providing large loans to the government. These loans not only helped the U.S. government achieve victory over Spain, but also presented a great opportunity for profit for Morgan's bank. The loans were used mainly for the purchase of supplies needed for naval power and war machinery. This financing strengthened Morgan's bank's ties with the government and continued U.S. military interventions. During this period, Morgan's financial power directly shaped the U.S. national security and war policies. The loans provided during the war allowed the bank to grow in parallel with military spending. Morgan's banking empire transformed from being just a financial institution to an actor that ensured the continuation of the war. World War I was the period when Morgan's influence in war financing reached its peak. The U.S. preferred to remain neutral at the beginning of the war, but Morgan played a key role in changing the war's fate by providing loans to the Allies. Morgan not only provided money but also organized the supply of materials needed for the war. This opened the way for the U.S. to enter the war because the sides Morgan financed needed U.S. support and intervention to continue the war. Morgan's strategic move created a situation where the U.S. government had to provide military and commercial support in return for the loans to the Allies. This became a factor that accelerated the U.S. decision to intervene in the war. Morgan's financial power became one of the main reasons for the U.S. government's involvement in the war. Morgan's role in war financing created a kind of dependence because the Allied powers could no longer act independently of Morgan's financing and U.S. intervention. During World War II, 1939 to 1945, Morgan's influence in war financing continued. Morgan's bank made many large agreements to help finance the war. The bank played an important role in making key economic decisions during the war and helped grow the government's war machinery. Morgan's loans also provided a way for the U.S. to intervene in the war in Europe. Morgan's financial strategy not only financed the war, but also encouraged participation in it. Each loan was used as a tool for guiding international relations. The bank controlled not only money, but also the economic and political aspects of the war. Morgan's business model was based on using war financing as a tool to create dependence. This model was built on creating economic pressure for governments and international actors to enter war through financial debts. World War I marked a period when aviation was first used in warfare. During this time, the foundations of Lockheed Martin were laid among the military aviation companies. Witnessing the first air battles, the company had not yet reached its current massive structure. Early efforts in aircraft production began, and the foundations of these companies were established during this period. Companies like Lockheed presented the potential to change war strategies with developing air technologies. World War II was one of the periods when Lockheed made its biggest leap in aviation. The company drew attention with the P-38 Lightning fighter aircraft. This aircraft was capable of flying at high altitudes and high speeds, making it ideal for dealing with enemy planes. The P-38 achieved significant successes in the early stages of the war and increased Lockheed's prestige in military aircraft production. At the same time, the increase in military contracts during the war accelerated the company's growth. Lockheed contributed to the war by producing large quantities of aircraft and earning significant profits from military government contracts. The Cold War period led Lockheed to go beyond being just an aircraft manufacturer. The company played a pioneering role in developing the U-2 spy plane and other advanced military aircraft. The U-2 revolutionized the U.S.'s aerial intelligence gathering capabilities against the Soviet Union. This aircraft had a design capable of evading enemy radars due to its high-altitude flying ability, and changed the course of military intelligence. In addition to these projects, Lockheed developed a strategy that shaped the future of military aviation with new generation aircraft and missile systems. In modern times, Lockheed Martin has signed significant defense contracts worldwide through projects like the F-35 fighter jet program. The F-35 was designed as a fifth-generation fighter aircraft and became a critical technology for various air forces. This aircraft is considered one of the most advanced aerial combat tools today, with advanced radar and sensor systems, stealth features, and multi-role capabilities. The design and production of the F-35 allowed Lockheed to make important military agreements not only with the U.S. Air Force but also with other NATO members and allied countries. Lockheed Martin's business model occupies a unique place in the defense industry. The company has earned significant profits from government contracts through a type of agreement called cost plus. In these contracts, the government pays a fixed profit margin on top of a specific project's cost. This ensures the company always makes a profit even in cases of cost overruns. This business model has created a mechanism guaranteeing that Lockheed Martin earns from all military contracts while directing a large portion of military budgets to the company's control. Halliburton is one of the most influential military logistic companies of the 20th century, changed the course of wars and achieved significant profits through close relationships with the government and private military contracts. The company's history grew from World War II to play an important role in modern wars such as the Vietnam War and the Iraq War, though not publicly traded. Halliburton's most notable impact occurred during the Iraq War, where the company secured massive no-bid contracts while Dick Cheney was vice president and built a large logistics empire worldwide. Halliburton's business model is an example of how the logistics of wars became commercialized and how political power intertwined with trade. World War II was a significant turning point for Halliburton. The company contributed to the U.S. war effort by offering various services related to war logistics. During this period, Halliburton began providing a range of critical services, from supplying military munitions to meeting the soldiers' needs for housing and food. The U.S. government required large logistics companies to minimize the war's impact and maintain the war effort efficiently, and Halliburton grew rapidly to meet this demand during the war. Halliburton's logistics services expanded to meet the needs of not only the U.S. military but also those of other allied states. The company provided essential infrastructure for air, sea, and land transportation. Halliburton's growth and success coincided with rising war costs during World War II. Halliburton's capabilities in logistics strengthened its ties with the government, and these relationships deepened after the war. The Vietnam War marked another period of expansion for Halliburton's role in military logistics. The company developed a vast supply network to meet the war's requirements. Transporting military materials to Vietnam required large-scale logistical support. Halliburton not only supplied munitions and materials but also played a key role in construction and infrastructure projects. The company contributed to building military bases, creating transport routes, and providing healthcare services. The Vietnam War showcased Halliburton's extensive expertise in logistics and its integration into the defense sector. The challenging geographical conditions of Vietnam required high-quality and fast logistics services, which brought Halliburton significant profits. However, the most controversial and impactful period in Halliburton's history came during the Iraq War. The 2003 conflict became a massive source of revenue for the company during Dick Cheney's term as vice president. Halliburton won billions of dollars in military logistics contracts. Thanks to no-bid agreements, these contracts provided Halliburton with unique opportunities to operate in critical areas such as building oil and natural gas production facilities, maintaining military bases, and providing infrastructure in Iraq.